What's wrong?
My wife had an accident. She's still breathing. Go down the stairs. She's still breathing. Please come.
Is she conscious?
What?
Is she conscious?
No, she's not conscious.
And that she died a horrible, painful death at the hands of her husband, Michael Peterson.
I have waited for an opportunity to have a retrial so that I can vindicate myself and prove my innocence in a fair trial this time.
Peterson pleaded guilty to manslaughter.
It's right that Michael Peterson finally acknowledges in court that there is enough evidence for the prosecution to convict him for the horrific death of my sister Kathleen. Yet it's wrong that after a jury sentenced him to life in prison for the murder of his wife, he gets to be a free man while Kathleen lies in the grave. Closure is for Dora, not for my murdered sister.
Days before Kathleen's death, we were discussing the beautiful dress and matching coat that she was planning to wear to the governor of North Carolina's Christmas party. Now Kathleen is buried in this dress and matching shoes. Michael Peterson called my husband and told him that my sister Kathleen had fallen down the stairs and died. She was not drunk. Her blood alcohol was .07. And she did not fall down the staircase. Liz Ratliff was also found by Michael at the bottom of the staircase.
All I want right now is to just, focus on the memory of my mother instead of the real injustice that's here, which is that she didn't get a fair trial. The man who murdered her is walking free.
I'm about to call the cops on my father for the murder of my mother, Patricia Peterson. I now today realize that the motivation was money, just like I now believe Kathleen.
Kathleen Peterson in the staircase. On December 9th, 2001, the dead, bloody body of Kathleen Peterson was found at the bottom of the staircase in the North Carolina home she shared with her second husband, novelist, newspaper columnist, and one-time Durham mayoral candidate Michael Peterson. Michael was indicted by a grand jury and charged with first-degree murder. In 2003, a jury convicted Peterson of the crime after what had perhaps been the longest trial in Durham's history. On February 14, 2017, Michael took an Alford plea to the reduced charge of manslaughter, was sentenced to time served and set free. There are many theories about Kathleen's death, from murder by her novelist husband to an owl attack. Yes, I said owl attack. Can you find the truth where others could not? Kathleen Hunt Atwater Peterson was born on February 21, 1953, in Greensboro, Guilford County, North Carolina, to Veronica Hunt. She grew up in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. She was an accomplished student, engineer, volunteer, and leader. Kathleen had a great sense of humor, bubbly and intelligent. She loved to make her own clothes and was extremely hardworking. She was very generous to her family, friends, neighbors, and to the community in general. Kathleen graduated first in her class at J.P. McCaskey High School, where as a student she was editor of the school magazine, named Girl of the Year and Lancaster Lass. She also became the first high school student to take college-level Latin classes at Franklin Marshall College. Kathleen moved to Durham to attend Duke University. In 1971, she became the first female student accepted into Duke's engineering school, and she later earned her Bachelor's of Science degree and a Master's in Mechanical Engineering. While attending Duke, Kathleen met her first husband, Fred Atwater, a physicist. They got married in 1977 and moved to Maryland, where Kathleen was successful at her job at Baltimore Air Coil. During this time, they had their first and only child, Caitlin. Kathleen was overjoyed, especially because she had a very hard time getting pregnant. Kathleen was a wonderful mother, and her and Caitlin developed a close bond. She tried to make every occasion special. The family later moved back to Durham to a house in Forest Hills on Hermitage Court. Kathleen spent a lot of her focus on Caitlin, throwing tea parties and playing dress-up. Kathleen and Fred's marriage didn't last. When Kathleen discovered infidelity on Fred's end, they got divorced in 1985. This absolutely devastated Kathleen. She would spend her nights crying herself to sleep. Caitlin soon introduced Kathleen to her friend's father, Michael Peterson, and the two immediately hit it off. Michael lived down the street with his adopted daughters, Martha and Margaret, and two sons, Clayton, and Todd. Michael was going through a divorce as well. Michael's sons didn't really approve of Michael and Kathleen's relationship and even blamed Kathleen for their parents' split. After a while, his sons became more open-minded of Kathleen's role in their lives and just wanted their dad to be happy. In 1987, the families moved in together. Kathleen and Michael married that year in the house they shared. Kathleen's sister Candace had some doubts about Michael, but pushed them aside because she saw how happy Michael made Kathleen. By now, Martha and Margaret thought of Kathleen as their mother. Kathleen was now a telecommunications company executive working for Nortel, and Michael, a former newspaper columnist, had penned several novels. One of those novels he had gotten more than $500,000 advance from his publisher. They were living in an 11,000 square foot mansion with 14 rooms. Kathleen was a wonderful mother, cook, rising star at her job, and a wonderful hostess and a member of an art council. Her friends called her Superwoman. Until 2001, they were a big, happy family. 1999, Michael decided to run for mayor, bringing out the fact that he was injured in a car accident and not combat, like he had claimed. This ruined his reputation and his campaign for mayor. In 2001, Michael decided to run for city council. April 18th of that year, Michael emailed a paternal uncle of his adopted daughters and asked him if he could chip in $5,000 a semester to help pay for Margaret's tuition, and he agreed. November 29th, Michael emailed his first wife, Patty, and asked if she could take out a $30,000 home equity loan to pay off their son's credit card debt, and that he couldn't talk to Kathleen about it. A week before Kathleen's death, her own supervisor was laid off. Kathleen was stressed because her company was going to lay off about 2/3 of their employees, and she was worried that she might be one of them. She was also having to fire people. Friday, December 7th, 2001, Kathleen took the day off from work, and the family went Christmas shopping. In the evening, they attended NC Independent Party. The next day, Saturday, about 3:30 p.m., 216 files were deleted from the Petersons' PC with a disk purging program called Quick Clean. 4:41 p.m., Michael arrived at the gym YMCA. About 6 p.m., Michael spoke to Kathleen about renting a movie. 6:59 p.m., Michael rented America's Sweethearts at Blockbuster Video while Kathleen ate dinner. 9:45 p.m., Christine Tomasetti arrived to take Todd to a party. She saw Kathleen and Michael sharing a bottle of wine. 10:20 p.m., Christine and Todd left for the party. 10:40 p.m., password @water logged onto the Peterson PC. 11:08 p.m., co-worker Helen Puslinger spoke with Kathleen by phone and agreed to email a file for her teleconference. At 11:53 p.m., Puslinger's email arrived. The blank email's attachment was never opened. Sunday, December 9th, 2001, around midnight, Michael Peterson said that he and Kathleen drank and talked outside near the pool in 50-degree weather. About 2:30 to about 12:40 a.m. is time unaccounted for. About 2 a.m., Michael claimed that this is when Kathleen left the pool area and headed inside to bed. About 2:30 a.m., Michael left the pool area. 2:40 a.m., Michael's 911 call claiming that he had just found Kathleen unconscious in their mansion and suspected she had fallen down 15, 20, I don't know stairs.
Durham 911, where's your emergency? 1810 Cedar Street, please.
What's wrong?
My wife had an accident. She's still breathing.
What kind of accident?
Still down the stairs. She's still breathing. Please come.
Is she conscious?
What?
Is she conscious?
No, she's not conscious.
Okay.
Please.
How many stairs did you
What?
fall down?
Huh?
How many stairs?
Stairs.
How many stairs?
Oh.
Calm down, sir. Calm down.
No, 15, 20, I don't know. Please, get somebody here right away. Please.
Okay, somebody's dispatching the ambulance
No.
while I ask you questions.
It's off. It's in Forest Hills, okay? Please, please.
2:46 a.m., Michael placed a second 911 call. Durham 911, where's your emergency? Peterson, where are they? It's 1810 Cedar. She is not breathing. Please, would you hurry up? 911, Sir? Peterson, can you hear me? 911, sir? Peterson, yes. 911, sir, calm down. They're on their way. Can you tell me for sure she's not breathing? Sir? Hello, hello? 2:48 a.m., paramedics James Rose and Ron Page arrived and heard someone sobbing. They are followed by Todd and friends. Kathleen Peterson is dead in the hallway at the foot of the staircase, with Michael cradling her. There is blood everywhere, all over her body, the walls, and even the ceiling. She was laying in a pool of blood. Her clothes were soaked with blood. There was some on the bottom of her feet, and her eyes were wide open. The blood looked coagulated. At one point, Todd had to pull Michael off Kathleen. Michael told paramedics that he and Kathleen had champagne and watched a movie before going to bed. He said that he went out to the pool to turn off the lights while she went up to the bedroom. Michael then told them that when he came back in the house, he found Kathleen at the bottom of the back staircase. 3:00 a.m., police and detectives began to arrive. 3:24 a.m., investigators secured the scene and police officers escorted Michael to his office, which was at the other end of the house. Officers and investigators say that Michael seemed confused and walking around in circles and back and forth. They said he didn't seem concerned about losing his wife. Investigators noticed that Kathleen's body was at an awkward angle and her head was resting on the foot of the staircase, and next to her body were multiple towels, a roll of paper towels, Kathleen's flip-flops that she supposedly was wearing, Michael's tennis shoes, and socks. Investigators also noticed that there seemed to be fresh blood on top of old blood. It appeared to be that there was some sort of cleanup. Between 4:15 and 5 a.m., Michael logged onto his office computer and mumbled to himself about an email. 5:00 a.m., Michael phoned his attorney, who was also his brother. As the investigation continued, there was blood found on the couch, the inside of the front door. The blood on the door seemed to be smeared or wiped. There was blood found on the porch and the walkway. The sink smelled of alcohol, and there was 2 champagne glasses found by the sink. One of the glasses had smudges and fingerprint impressions. The other glass had nothing. Only Michael's fingerprints were found on the glass. Luminol was used in the house, and investigators discovered that there had been bloody footprints that had been wiped away. These footprints led from where Kathleen's body was to the washing machine that was in the laundry room, to the sinks and the wine cabinet in the kitchen. There was a bloody fingerprint on the wine cabinet door as well. There was a bloody footprint found on the back of the sweatpants Kathleen was wearing. This footprint matched Michael's tennis shoes that were found by her body. There was blood found in Michael Peterson's shorts. Todd and his friends were in the house, and investigators let Todd go into the kitchen unsupervised to get his father a soda and ice. According to Kathleen's family, the days following her death, Michael wouldn't really talk to them. He did, however, talk to his lawyer and his brother Bill. One of Michael's sons, Todd, started telling people that Kathleen was drunk the night of her death. Investigators talked to Helen Perslinger, and she said that Kathleen didn't sound impaired or upset when she spoke to her the night of her death. The medical examiner released preliminary findings stating that Kathleen did not fall down the steps, that the lacerations were not consistent with a fall. Caitlin stood by Michael until the autopsy report came out.
As you can all imagine, my life without my mother have been incredibly trying. The gravity of my loss and the horrific pain and suffering that Michael Peterson caused my mother, which I inevitably have to live with that knowledge every day, is really too severe for any semblance of retribution to ever truly be made.
This is a summary of the autopsy conducted on Kathleen Hunt Atwater Peterson, a 48-year-old woman from Durham County, North Carolina. The examination was performed on December 10, 2001, by Dr. Kenneth Snell, Dr. Deborah Radish, and Mr. Kevin Garrity present. The cause of death was determined to be blunt force trauma to the head. The autopsy revealed multiple injuries, lacerations and avulsions on the back of the scalp, numerous contusions in the same region, subarachnoid hemorrhage, slight to moderate on both sides of the brain. Early signs of acute ischemic neuronal necrosis indicating brain damage due to lack of oxygen. A fracture with hemorrhage in the superior cornu of the left thyroid cartilage. contusions on both arms, including the right hand, and multiple abrasions and bruises on the face. The findings were certified by Dr. Deborah Radish on February 18, 2002. This report reflects the official medical conclusion regarding Kathleen's death. Kathleen Peterson, external description and evidence of injury. The body of Kathleen Peterson was found intact. She measured 62 inches in height, weighed 120 pounds, and was cool to the touch. No rigor mortis was present, her hair dark brown. Her eyes gray-green. She wore a brown fleece sweatshirt, gray sweatpants, and white sneakers. No signs of decomposition. Her nails were naturally red. A small mole sat just below and to the left of her navel. A chipped tooth, number 26, an EKG lead, remained affixed to her chest. There had been an attempt to intervene, but the scalp told a different story. Blood stained the hair across both sides of her head. Parietal and occipital regions. Beneath it, a constellation of injuries, dozens of abrasions, each roughly half an inch by a quarter inch, clustered across the left posterior parietal scalp. Not random, not singular. Repeated trauma, layered impact, a pattern of violence etched in the skin. This was not a fall. This was not gentle. The posterior scalp of Kathleen Peterson bore the evidence of repeated trauma. Multiple lacerations, each measured, each mapped, cut across the back of her head. Some were linear, others angled, their lengths varied. Most fell within a narrow range, roughly 1 to 2 inches along a quarter inch wide. They were not scattered randomly. They clustered, they aligned, they told a story of force applied again and again. The spacing between wounds was tight, the orientations deliberate, the scalp a canvas of violence. This was not a single impact, not a fall, not an accident. This was repetition, this was intent. The right arm bore further signs of a struggle, a 1.5 inch by 1 inch contusion just below the elbow, a blue-red abrasion 2 inches above it, a friction wound, white, raw, and deliberate, a contusion on the back of her right hand. 2 pine needles adhered to the skin, silent witness to her final moments. Internally, the brain showed slight subarachnoid hemorrhage, concentrated over the left parietal and occipital lobes. No subdural hemorrhage, no contusions, no skull fractures. The brain was intact, marked. The neck revealed a fracture of the superior cornu of the left thyroid cartilage, surrounded by hemorrhage. A sign of pressure, a sign of force. The body cavities were clear, no unusual fluid, no adhesions. The heart weighed 240 grams, with less than 20% stenosis in the coronary artery due to plaque. No fibrosis, no inflammation. The lungs showed focal atelectasis and slight congestion, no emboli. The stomach held 600 milliliters of brown-red fluid, no tablets, no odor. The liver showed slight to moderate fatty change, but no inflammation or fibrosis. The kidneys, adrenal glands, thyroid, and pituitary, all unremarkable. The spleen was congested. The pancreas showed focal fibrosis, parenchymal atrophy. The musculoskeletal system confirmed the thyroid cartilage fracture. The brain weighed 1,200 grams, not swollen. Transparent leptomeninges with subarachnoid hemorrhage. The vessel of the circle of Willis were thin-walled. The brain was formalin fixed for neuropathy. The cervical spine showed changes at the C3, C4 disc on the right side of the neck. Blood ethanol concentration, 0.07%. Urine ethanol concentration, 0.11%. Trace amounts of chlorpheniramine, cyclobenzaprine, and nicotine detected. Diazepam present at 0.15 milligrams. No opioids or other organic bases found. These substances may have affected alertness, but they did not explain the trauma. The final conclusion: Kathleen Peterson died from severe concussive injury to the brain caused by multiple blood force impacts to the head. Blood loss from deep scalp lacerations may have contributed. The number, severity, location, and orientation of the wounds do not support a fall down the stairs. They are consistent with repeated blows, a beating. This diagram is from an autopsy report issued by the Office of Chief Medical Examiner in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, dated December 19, 2001. It is labeled Body Diagram Head, Front, Back, and focuses on the front view of the head. The examiner listed is Depart Smith, and the autopsy number is B012334. Here's a breakdown of what's notated. Injury overview. Abrasion clusters. The diagram is densely marked with small abrasions, most measuring 0.25 by 0.25 inches, scattered across the face and scalp. Larger abrasions, one at 1.0 by 0.8 inches, another at 0.2 by 0.1 inches. A black linear abrasion measuring 0.25 by 1.0 inches. Ecchymosis, a clear, early bruise, subcutaneous bleeding noted at 0.25 by 0.5 inches. Other trauma, mentions of contusions, lacerations, and avulsions, suggesting blunt force trauma and tearing injuries. The repetition of 0.25 by 0.25 abrasions suggests either pattern trauma or multiple small impacts. The repeated measurements of 5.7 by 1.2 by 0.1 centimeters across the back of the head suggest a pattern of elongated, shallow lacerations, possibly consistent with blunt force trauma from a narrow object. The uniformity and distribution raised questions that have fueled debates for decades. Accidental fall, homicidal assault, or something else entirely. Forensic symbolism, repetition as a ritual. The wound's uniformity can invoke a sense of deliberate action or obsessive compulsion. Shallow depths suggest not just violence, but restraint, controlled force, which adds psychological complexity. Back of the head implies vulnerability, surprise, or betrayal.
When I think of Kathleen, what I remember, unfortunately, is her dying in my arms.
This was a perfect family. But as the old saying goes, appearances can be very deceiving. For much of the time, there was plenty of money. Then, like an ominous storm cloud, the picture began to change. This changing situation was something that Mike Peterson couldn't tolerate. But Mike Peterson, the creative thinker, the writer of fiction, was able to figure out the perfect solution. That solution was to make it appear as though Kathleen accidentally fell down her steps and died. And like magic, no more money problems. Like magic, Michael Peterson goes from a point where they're having to sell assets and live on credit to survive, all of a sudden, with her death, has $1.8 million in his hand. That's a lot of money. That solves a lot of problems. What a wonderful solution. There's only one catch. He's got to kill Kathleen Peterson to get that $1.8 million.
Well, what did you see that looked suspicious to you?
One, I had a deceased person there, and then there was a large amount of blood that didn't look consistent with someone falling downstairs.
Based on all that you saw,
yes,
and all that you did, or all that you didn't do, right, is it your testimony before this jury that you can absolutely, conclusively exclude that Kathleen Peterson was beaten on her head?
I said my conclusion more consistent with an accidental fall.
But you can't exclude that she was beaten based on all you did.
Nobody can exclude everything.
Mike, I don't know what else to do.
I know, I understand that. I do. I just cannot. I think this is terrible.